Hi, Stefano. It's great to have you here with us. And thank you for accepting my invite to participate in our global research. I think before we start, maybe you can tell us a bit about yourself, your background, your role, your responsibilities at Generali.
My pleasure, Neil. Thanks for having me here. It's really an honor, and it's always pleasant to speak with you. So I'm Stefano Bison. I take care of business development, strategic partnership, and innovation for the Generali Group. I work in Milan, but on a global remit. My teams cover all the different lines of business and I would say across the value chain. So from sales to post-sales to claims, etc. We are ultimately the team that is responsible for identifying new business opportunities, new business models, new strategic partnership that can enhance and help developing the strategic positioning of Generali Group. I'm also managing the innovation team. As I said, the innovation team is the one taking care of the whole innovation machine, which comprehends trainings, the innovation methodology, our indirect investments in venture capital, so our fund of funds VC activities, as well as the management of the Central Innovation Fund, which I chair, and is a fund that takes care of co-financing innovation initiatives across the group. I'm in Generali since 10 years. Before Generali, I was back and forth consulting and investment banking between London and Milan. I've also been in Lehman, and in 2008 I was there. And these days, the Credit Suisse history, etc., they remind me a bit of an already seen history, unfortunately.
So you already been suffering from a big crisis while you were working
at least twice, yes. But that one was big and it was on my own skin, yes.
Amazing. So that's great. That leads me to my first question about Insurtech valuations, Insurtech companies, the market sentiment. So how do you see the current state of the insurance industry in regards to the valuations of all these Insurtech companies, the market sentiments? Are we sobering now? What's going on there?
It's a nice conundrum. It's a nice dilemma to look at. It's like, in all honesty, it's probably 6 months at least that we are looking at it from an outside-in perspective, if not 12. We have been asking ourselves the same questions many times, and my take that is not necessarily fully shared by all our top managers, but there's a consensus around what I'm going to tell you anyhow, is that yes, we are going back to normality. The excessive cash that has been flowing, in the whole system, not only in Insurtech, of course, has acted as a sort of a drag for many industries, and private equity and venture capital were also impacted, of course. A lot of money to invest. It means, less pressure on fundamentals. This created a sort of virtuous for some, vicious for others, cycle of upgoing valuations. The final rounds before the correction last year that we've seen, so just 1 year ago, before the war, were really crazy. I mean, we have looked at some deals. We were about to do an investment in a big scale up. It was not strictly Insurtech, but it was big. In the end, we didn't do it, luckily, because in the meantime it failed. And the multiples were crazy. And when you are a listed traditional insurer trailing at a fraction of your book value, it's really difficult to justify anything that reasons at multiples of GWPs. So it really you cannot reconcile the two words somehow. In all honesty, my two takes are, the first one is, it's not about Insurtech exploding. It's the tech sector went down as a whole. Insurtech is just small part of it. Fintech had more or less the same. Maybe Insurtech. It depends on the, you know, the statistics you look at. There's some that say that suffered more. Some others say that it's slightly more resilient than fintech. I think it depends on the index or the panel or the length of the analysis. Nonetheless, I would say everything crashed 80 to 90%. You know, the listed companies, the typical example, and I'm sorry for them, is Lemonade, but I'm mentioning them just because they are the most famous one. It went down massively compared to the IPO price. I don't have the latest figures, but it's really like one order of magnitude.
It's 90%.
I think even more. No, it's one order of magnitude.
Yeah.
Of course, it's crazy if you think about it. So the listed ones went down, as many other tech companies did. This eventually, there was a sort of a contagion effect on private markets, no? And now on private markets, my point of view, but here you are the expert because we're not doing many direct investments. There's not almost a market anymore. I mean, there's almost no deals recently. So it's difficult to find comparable acquisitions, no? And it's difficult to build the multiples. So SPACs have evaporated. It's not a market anymore. I mean, nobody speaks of SPACs anymore. So, you know, the first take is everything went down. Private market has been through this contagion effect, and now there's not so many transactions. We start seeing down rounds. But the second take, which is connected to this, is that it's good. I mean, it was under drugs, as I said before. So we're now finally talking again of fundamentals. We have left vanity metrics. It wasn't always vanity metrics, but you know, you cannot talk only of GWPs as if they were ARR. It's not the same thing.
Exactly.
No? So it was weird. Then the market was doing that as a whole, so they were right somehow in doing that. But if you ask me, that I was out of that, you know, crazy hype. For me, it's good. I mean, we're back to talking of fundamentals. We are really talking about how to keep the company sustainable. People is concentrated on saving costs, lengthening the runway, and hopefully having at least a path to profitability. Because having a plan to become the biggest insurer in the world, if you're not capable in the end to remunerate the capital of those that made it possible, it doesn't make sense. I mean, that's not economic, no? It's against all the economic theories, if you want. So, as always, and I close with this, crises are creating, you know, this big divergence. They are helping in separating the good from the bad, the signal from the noise, the positive from the negative. You know, it's a sort of a Darwinian selection process, if I may, and it's good because there's going to be probably less competition in investment. It's going to be more balanced power between investors and insurtechs, and you know, there's going to be some death, there's going to be some zombies going around for a while, but ultimately, I think that after a while, there will be more demand for the good insurtechs. So probably their prices, if they're good enough to have a good runway and wait a bit, demand is going to go back to them, and they're going to be able again to negotiate better deals. So I think in the end, for the virtuous one, it's going to be good. It's just a matter of time. And of course, it depends on what we expect. And on this, I don't have the crystal ball. And, you know, the situation every day on the news is worse. So for me, it was like, maybe we are out of this in 6 months. It's going to be better. Inflation is going to show, no, it's already showing some signs of slowdown.
Yes.
But I don't know. I mean, every day there's something new. No, I'm reading now of Israel. I'm reading of France. So I don't know what to expect. Of course, if the macro situation changes again, everything I said is probably without value.
Me paused. Yes. I thank you very much. I think this is great. I totally understand and I totally agree with everything you've said. I think that in the next year or two, we're going to see a lot of good opportunities at the right prices because of this situation. And I think that the winners would win a big time. even though there will be much lower amount of winners.
I totally agree. And there's another factor, if I can complement.
Yes.
There's going to be further shift towards B2B. This is my bet.
Yes.
It's much easier, the sales cycle is longer and everything, but it's much easier to become profitable on B2B or B2B2C rather than on B2C. So ultimately, I think Insurtech was already more B2B than FinTech in general, but I think this is moving a bit the average market.
So this is taking me, by the way, to discussions we had 20 years ago in Generali and in Migdal, where everybody thought that agents and brokers are going to disappear. And many of us didn't believe in this. And I think that shows that the strength of the distribution channel is still super, super strong.
Absolutely. 100%. Listen, I was talking with a young Insurtech focusing on SMEs, especially micro enterprises.
Right.
And, I think they've pivoted already twice, probably. They started saying, we want to go direct. Ultimately, in the whole Europe, there's only one company that is partially successful on SME insurance D2C. All the others started with that idea, ended up being broker intermediated or agents intermediated, so becoming an enabler of traditional distribution. So, it's every 2-3 years we say, now it's time, we're going to disintermediate the distribution. I didn't see it happening pretty much anytime, no? And every time they try, and then maybe they are successful, but they're not successful in becoming profitable, which is also an issue.
Right. Yeah, we can elaborate on this for hours.
Yeah, exactly.
We'll do that on a dinner in Tel Aviv. But it leads me to my next question about what do you see as the major 2 or 3 trends in the market right now?
I see 3. First one being AI being pushed in everywhere, pretty much in the insurance value chain. AI is not a single technology; it's a set of different things. These transformation engines, the GPT one is the most famous one, but all the generative AI trend, we are looking closely at it. We're starting to do, even sessions with our exco and top management, because we really think that this is going to change the world. I mean, we are not so far away. Probably this is what Kurzweil and others say, from the singularity. The acceleration that we've seen with GPT-3 and now GPT-4 is crazy. This is stuff that is available to the general public, including our agents and our customers. So we'll be better finding out well how to use it. And we already have in mind, and we are about to test some concrete use cases before our agents or customers do themselves. So
wow.
We need to run quick. This is happening today. It's available to everybody, and it's incredibly powerful. I think we all played with it. So we were already doing a lot on AI. I think that November or December, when GPT went mainstream, it started ringing a bell in all our brains, and we are massively accelerating with that. I wouldn't have mentioned this as a top 3. In 6 months ago, I mention it now, and I'm strongly convinced number 1. Number 2 is all the trend of, we call it B2B2C, others call it embedded insurance. It's everything that has to do with selling insurance products through non-insurance intermediaries. It can be fully embedded, it can be opt-in, there's many models, it can be retail or corporate-like, but this making insurance somehow invisible or embedded in something else, especially when the needs of the customers are very close. Think about buying a house and getting it insured straight away. It's something that is not completely new. I mean, it was called affinity back in the times, 20 years ago as well. But now technology gave it like a pump, a massive acceleration. I think we are very ready to do it properly now. There's a lot of companies that are doing it pretty well. There's MGAs being born every other day, and I know you know many. And we are accelerating also in Generali in this. We have one of our strategic projects is how we accelerate the implementation of this across the board and across markets. Do we want to buy or make our own platform or partner with some? There's still different models we are testing, but it's happening. Customers seems liking it. And ultimately, the reason why this is relevant is there's a huge untapped market. I mean, under protection, or the protection gap, as it's called in many papers, it's huge. And selling these products, especially if they are simple, maybe not so complex or big coverages, but simple, right at the right moment, for customers that wouldn't have bought it anyhow, we think it's a good way to, address the protection gap, and also in a sort of cost-efficient way, because it's sold through other partners. You don't have the distribution cost exactly, and it makes sense. I mean, overall, from an economic perspective, it's not easy, but it makes sense.
My 10 cents on this is that now we feel that this is the step where embedded insurance is going to tap the bigger premiums, because until now it was mostly on small premiums, micro premiums, what you see in Asia,
right,
etc. And now is the time for scale up in terms of the average premium that we're going to see going through these embedded platforms and affinities, etc.
I 100% agree with you. That's also our evidence. It's not, say, statistically solid, but it's a sentiment we're starting to have. Many companies, Cover Genius, Cover, and others, they are progressively moving from niche, small tickets to bigger, more structured products, such as motor. Think about Tesla Insurance. I mean, Tesla Insurance is the traditional example of motor applying embedded insurance. Is it new? No. The way they market it, the fact that it's technologically integrated, etc., it's a new way of doing business. And of course, it's bringing up from, the micro instant insurance policy to, the MTPL or even the MOD product, which has a completely different, not only size, but also economic viability. It starts becoming an interesting business.
Yeah, it's the next level.
Which means, by the way, that even embedded insurance, there is a new trend, is maturing. So even though there's no time for self-complacency, we need to accelerate as incumbents. Otherwise, somebody else is going to jump in and get pieces of the value chain, and then it's going to be difficult to kick them out.
Absolutely. 100%.
The last trend, if I may, and I don't want to steal too much of your time.
No, it's great.
Is SME insurance. I think, in all honesty, the offering, the traditional offering, and I'm not talking, of course, of Generali, I'm talking of an industry-wide issue that we are selling is not always fit for purpose, not always straightly responding to the needs of our customers, especially talking about micro enterprises and gig economies. So if I can do a quick step back, the issue there is that the cost of distribution is high. Mm-hmm. You need products that justify that distribution model. That if the service model requires some products, it means that some other products that might be needed by the SMEs are not going to get distributed by that distribution model, by or brokers. But you need to find alternatives. Could be the direct, but as we were saying before, the direct for SMEs is still a big of a question mark. No? So there's such a big total addressable market. There's so much potential. I'm thinking about even simple things, liability, cyber, stuff that, small shops, the small professional working with two collaborators, the gig economy, all the gig economy. And it can be employee benefit like offering, so collective policies. It can be something else, but ultimately, I think we're not responding to customer needs as an industry as a whole. And maybe it requires some form of PPP. I'm thinking about, micro enterprises and professionals. In many developed markets, they don't have a pension plan. And like how can we help them, in saving? I mean, digital is there, it's already happening. Can we help them in saving and building some wealth over time? Because this is protection gap. I mean, it's something really tangible. But if you are too busy in living today, you're not gonna plan or find the solution yourself. And if your agent doesn't have an economic interest in solving the issue, nobody's gonna, and it's a huge and tough market, and there's many things we are looking at. It's not easy because of the distribution setup, and the fact that insurance remain, unfortunately, I would say, a push product and not a pull one. So you have to sell it. It's not going to happen that the micro entrepreneur comes and says, by the way, I need a pension plan, and can you help me with that? I mean, you need to go and show him that there's a need and convince him to buy it. So till it's a push product, till it's something you need to sell, it's not easy to find the right balance. But there's some models we're starting to say, some of your portfolio companies are tackling the issue very convincingly. So maybe there's hope. I mean, I think we're not exactly there yet, but the market is so big that we cannot ignore.
I can relate to this on my observation, that I believe that the SMEs is maybe the biggest underinsured and underserved population, maybe probably in Europe. And we see the best example I saw there is on cyber insurance.
Yes.
Where like 95% are uninsured, and 60% of the small businesses that are being affected by cyber attack, they never go back to business.
Yeah, it's crazy.
It's crazy. It's a huge gap.
Despite the super growing market in terms, of funding, in terms even of insurance premiums on cyber insurance.
Yes.
As you said, even last year, more than 90% of attacks were uninsured. And one attack can decide your survival. So how is it possible that nobody is taking care of that? No, so there's reasons, of course, as I said, and it's rational reasons oftentimes. But we need to solve these big problems. This is a big trend. There's many companies that are coming from different ways. Some are more generalist, some others are more specialists, on cyber, for example. But in the end, it's all around how we better serve SMEs, because, as you said better than me, they're not served enough.
Amazing. Stefano, I could spend tons of hours with you, but I think that
likewise,
for viewers, this is quite overwhelming. And thank you for joining this interview. I really appreciate it. It's amazing.
It was a pleasure. Always a pleasure. Thank you.
Thank you very much.